Ladies and gentlemen of Twitch and of YouTube, we finally have an official announcement of course, the new LEC format, which I'm very excited about. We are going to first and foremost explain the format. So basically, for those who don't know, they're going to divide the season in Europe into 4 parts. We will have the winter split, spring split, summer split, and the season finals. Season finals will determine who is the big true LEC champion, and also who is going to qualify to the World Championship. Everything else before that is a qualification for the season finals. The winter split will start in January, the January 23rd, which is good that it's a bit late because last year it was quite early and it was quite exhausting. We are going to have 3 weeks of single round robin best of ones. Top 8 are going to be seeded into a group stage. So already 2 teams are going to be falling out. If you are in the bottom 2, you are going to be in a situation where you're not going to be playing for the remainder of the winter split or any other split. The top 8 is going to be 2 groups, best of 3, double elimination. So basically, my understanding is that if we look at winter playoffs, there's going to be 8 teams participate, 2 groups of 4, double elimination, matches of best of 3. Top 2 of each group advanced to stage 3. So basically, if you're in a position where you lose 2 best of 3s, you are out of competition, right? So it's going to be a bracket system of some sort, and then you're going to be qualifying to the top 4. Based off of seeding, the number 1 seed of the first group is going to face up against the second seed of the second group, and vice versa. This can get very wonky, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Top 4, best of 5 double elimination. The winner, of course, becomes the split champion. If you are a split champion, you auto qualify to the season finals, and that's it. That is the new format. We're going to have best of 1s into best of 3s into best of 5s. So basically, we're going to see more competition between stronger teams. I hope that makes sense. A question that might come to your mind is what happens to MSI? I believe that the winner of Spring Split is going to go to MSI. That is my understanding. In terms of what dates we're working with here, I believe that the break between the winter split and the spring split will be quite minimal, because they need to squeeze in 2 splits in the span of what was previously 1 split, and in summer they would squeeze in the summer split and the season finals. So we're going to have best of 5s going into best of 5s. So it's going to be a long gauntlet of best of 5s at the end of the LEC. What are my first initial thoughts? I think that this seeding, basically the issues with this format, so basically the good things about this format is we get best of 3 games, we get a lot of best of 5s, and the volume of games is going to be a lot more extreme, right? That is going to be really, really good. I think that's exciting in itself, something fresh, keep you on your toes. I think that in itself is super, super positive. The negatives, if I look at what could potentially be a problem, is considering this is early on in the season, the best of 1 single round robin will create a situation where we might have very uneven groups in the top 8. So I believe that since 8 teams qualify, I think the bottom 2 most likely will not deserve to play in the next stage, and I think that's also beneficial. You guys have heard me many times talk about how a lot of the big organizations in the LEC and also in other regions are carrying the viewership and in some shape or form you're supposed to be equal partners, and there are teams that don't do an equal investment or don't pull their weight within the ecosystem. So this is going to give us, the power of relegation without there being a relegation. You are forced to be active because you are going to be cut off so much earlier in the season than before if you're not actually competitive. And I think that's huge. Big thumbs up there. We love seeing shit like that because, if you think about the orgs, Fnatic and G2, they have carried the viewership for the majority of time. Now we have Koi coming in. I don't know how Team Heretics is going to do, but these were the big ticket games, always Fnatic and G2. And if they are the big ticket games, put them in front of the camera more and don't make them carry the whole league by being the last game of the day always during the LEC regular split. Alright? So, we continue. The main concern I have here is, considering it's BO1s and in the beginning of the season, you have teams that might be slow starters. Maybe Fnatic is not going to start strong. Maybe Koi is going to take a little bit of a longer break or something. Maybe there are teams here that are going to qualify, but let's say they qualify as a 7th. They qualify as a 6th. And then all of a sudden these groups might look very wonky very quick. Of course, the teams that have weaker players on paper have every incentive to start out super strong. So they're going to start practicing super early. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Astralis, SK, BDS start practicing now in order to create positive momentum coming into the regular season best of 1 to carry that over to best of 3s, because this is where they can cause damage. This is where they can cause upsets. If there's a situation, right, where, let's say, G2 starts off slow, the big team start off slow, we might be in a situation where we have very uneven groups. And that is going to make playoffs look very strange. That is the only danger of this, is that the best of 1 seeding system creates a kind of a weird situation. Right? Could be very strange. Double elimination, same as before. You lose 2 best of 3s, you're out. You lose 2 best of 5s, you're out. This is going to create a lot of excitement, but you could definitely see situations where Group A or Group B, one of these groups being a lot weaker than the other. And that is going to, be harmful from a competitive standpoint, but from a viewership standpoint could be super exciting. And I love the fact that we are tested on these key abilities early on. The fact that we only have 3 weeks of BO1s and then you toss it aside, I think that's fantastic. Pressure-filled games, we go rock and roll, right? My second concern is, considering split champions get qualification into the season finals. You win a split, let's say you win the winter split, right? You peak in February, right? You peak in February and you qualify somehow to the season finals guaranteed. That could be a bit iffy, That could be a bit iffy. But it allows for some strategic preparation for these splits. Maybe we're going to see situations where teams actually tank splits. Maybe they win winter split and then spring split, they're not going to put that much effort into it. Maybe they let their academy team play and they're going to rest up and whatever, Maybe there's room for that. But I doubt League is at that point where we're going to see any shenanigans like that at all. But I only bring this up because you have that option. You could win winter and then you can go for a long vacation between spring and summer and then you just prepare for season finals. That could be a thing. Another thing that is a little bit weird here is, considering the summer split, right? You have BO5 games here that is going to determine, of course, the summer split winner. How heavy are the teams going to compete here in terms of what they reveal and in terms of how hard in the paint they go in order to prepare, like in order to keep themselves as whole as possible for the season finals? Because if you've already qualified for the season finals, summer split is going to be not so important, right? So that's the main thing in my mind, is that if you could, there could be a situation where we already know the top teams for the season finals earlier in the season that we would know in the previous years. That could be the only potential danger, right? But we don't know how the point distribution will be. Maybe the summer split points are going to be more important and we weighed more than the spring split points. Or maybe the winter split points are going to be weighed the least, right? Which kind of makes sense, because contextually you can qualify in February and you can go so far to qualify to the World Championship off of the back of that play in February, right? But at least what we're seeing here, which is funny here, Yasin Dinche, of course, is, so you're saying that we must win a best of 5 to make the Worlds? Yes, you must. Yes, you must. And this is going to be a double elimination bracket, most likely with some teams starting off in one part of the bracket where they already have one elimination, so to speak. They start in the lower bracket. So I am very excited for this. Very excited for this. Another concern of mine, right? I am not going to be competing in the LEC this year, but a concern of mine was, when I heard about this format a very long time ago, is just how are we going to manage burnout, right? So we were told that between winter split and spring split, we're going to have a 1 week break. So imagine a situation, right, where you play the final, okay? Let's say you play the final. You play the final here in the winter split, and then you have to 1 week break, and you have to win best of ones. You have to. There is no break for you, no resting for you, nothing at all. Let's say you lose the final here in the winter split, so you don't get any leeway, you don't get any leisure time at all. And then 1 week break, boom, you jump into the spring split. You have week 1, week 2, week 3 of BO1s. Okay, and then gruesome best of 3s followed by the playoffs, right? Playoffs week 1. And following this, you are going to also have to play MSI. So there's a situation where you play the finals in the winter split, 1 week break, have to play BO1s. You're going to have to grind, and then you have to play MSI. That is going to mess you up. That is going to mess you up big time. It would be interesting, you know, if there could be a situation where the top two, like, if there could be a situation where the top two of the winter split or top two of the spring split qualify automatically to the top 8, something like this, just to give them some breathing room, could be good. Because, you know, you could, the team that goes to MSI is gonna have a crazy ass schedule. Another thing with this, right, is that this date worries me. So last year we played on September 11th, 9/11 the final was, okay? And we had to fly to Worlds almost instantly. But this was also tied to the date that the World Championship started. So if there's a situation where World starts earlier or potentially not later, this could be a very rough schedule to follow, right? Main thing here, in my experience, I can tell you guys that BO1s, super weeks, are very tiring. Because you have to prepare for each team, it's BO1s, and you know, the main thing that is exhausting about game day is the fact that you have to travel, there's a lot of downtime, there's a lot of waiting, you can't be efficient with your time. That is going to be like the biggest challenge to tackle, because it's tiring, and you invest 5 to 6 hours just to play that one game, including warm-up, driving time, meeting time, and so forth. So this is time where you're not going to be able to practice, right? All in all, I love the fact that we have best of 3s. I love the fact that we have more best of 5s. I think that's exciting in itself. I think Winter Split Champion gives me these OGN vibes, which obviously is super exciting. It makes me a little bit sad to not be able to compete in this LEC season. Maybe, of course, not in the Winter Split, but maybe, you know, I'll trail behind and jump in the Spring Split or something like this. Need to maintain that title of being that person with the most LEC games under my belt. but who cares? You know, in the end, you know, I'm sad that the old system is retired because it means that under the old system I didn't get any trophies, you know. So it's like that one that got away from me. It's kind of stings. All in all, this LEC champion trophy is going to be very prestigious, but at the same time, considering the format, I think it's going to be at the level of previous title in summer, right? The summer title is always the big one, right? Everyone remembers Rogue winning, but people care less about G2 winning Spring because it just doesn't have that same punch and impact. You go to MSI, who cares about MSI, right? I hope Riot fixes MSI, you know? God bless.